All righty. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. We are so excited to have you here and so excited to have this amazing presenter that we have today. Now, as we're getting started, I'm going on to Facebook Live. I'm adding this on Facebook Live right now. So as everybody's jumping on, I would love to know, where are you calling in from today? What kind of audience do we have out here? Throw us your location and temperature in the chat.
Ooh, I like temperature.
That temperature, we got to know. Is it warm? Is it not? And let's see, as I'm doing this here, we're going to share this on our Party Center software page. So if you are on, well, if you're on this webinar, you don't need to be on the live, but we're adding it to live. Just give us a second here. All right, what we got, ladies? Eileen, do we have any locations?
Sacramento.
Yeah, I was just going to say Sacramento and 81. I'm from Radcliffe, Kentucky, and we're 79.
Awesome.
Got some British Columbia, Canada kicking in. That's awesome.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
Evansville, Indiana. That's close to my home. 88.
Yeah, and I guarantee you, because I'm in Indianapolis, that 88 feels like 96 with the stupid humidity today, because it is nasty outside.
Yes, it is humid, Jason. I'm right there with you. Kentucky is right there too.
Ooh, Denver in the house. I left part of my heart in Colorado when I used to live out there. Hey, Scott.
Jason, did you see what Josh wrote? He said, "Is that the temperature and my location? Because my internal fire is burning hot."
Ooh, yeah, baby. I love that. That's awesome.
That is amazing. Amazing. Well, we are live now. Can I get a check from Cam that we can see the Facebook Live, that we're good to go?
All set.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, guys, we're going to get started. Thank you again for joining us. Our topic today is controlled burn in the new now, fueling the fire of your heart to burn for you, your business, and your customers. We're featuring Jason Barnaby from Firestarters. You may have met him recently at a conference that you may have attended. I don't know. If you attended Amusement 360, I'm sure that you got to meet Jason. He is awesome. For those of us that haven't met, my name's Rebecca Toomey. I'm the Director of Sales and Customer Success here at Party Center Software. Love doing these webinars every month and love seeing all these new faces and all of our beautiful faces that join us each month. So thank you guys for joining us. Again, Jason, he is the Chief Firestarter at Firestarters, Inc., which is an amazing company that I cannot sum up in 20 seconds because it's impossible. So I'm going to let Jason tell you a couple things about himself before I move on.
Hey, that sounds great. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me today. Thank you, everybody who is joining from all over North America. That's so cool. That is definitely one of the cool things about COVID, is that we can all come together and we don't have to travel. So as Rebecca said, my name is Jason Barnaby. I am the Chief Firestarter. I started my own company, so I thought I can make it my own title, right? Why not? So Chief Firestarter it is at Firestarters Incorporated, where we have a mission statement that consists of 4 words, 2 hashtags. The first one is Ignite Hope, and the second one is Torch Fear. And so I work with individuals, corporate teams, different groups of people to basically help them find their fire, fan their flame, and take care of the people, tend their tribe of the people that they have around them. And I do that through various programs, through things like I have the opportunity to do today and speaking with all of you. So I am going to be asking you today some questions, because one of the founding principles of Firestarters, Inc., when I started it, was that we would have practical inspiration. What I mean by that is I'm hoping to challenge you today. I happen to be wearing a shirt. I'll show it to you a little bit later. It says comfortable being uncomfortable. So if I can make you comfortable being uncomfortable, or even if I can just make you uncomfortable today, yeah, just like the one that's there on the screen. If I can make you uncomfortable today, I have succeeded. But then the biggest question is, what will you do as a result of that discomfort? And we've got lots of things to talk about. So thanks again for having me today.
Thank you, Jason. And something else I want to throw out there to you guys. Jason is our first panelist so far to offer giveaways, which I thought was just so generous of him. Thank you, Jason. He is going to be giving away a copy of his book, Firestarters. He's also going to be giving away a program. So please stay engaged, guys. He's going to be asking some questions, and the winners will be selected from the responses. So be sure to tune in when we get to those. Quick introduction of my awesome team that is also on this webinar today. They're in the background here, but just know that they're here. And they're here to help if you need anything after the fact. We have Megan Hawkins. She is our lead customer success consultant. We have Courtney, and we also have Cam. We've got Eileen, Tanya, and Jesse. They're just the best. I love these guys. But I'm really excited to get into today's topic. So I'm going to pass this screen share over to Jason right now, and he is going to tell you how to feel comfortable with the uncomfortable. So Jason, let's pass it over to you.
All right, let's make sure that we are you seeing my slideshow?
We're seeing it. Sure. It's a success.
Right. Yay, simple pleasures in life.
Right, the beauty of Zoom.
That's right. All right. The real test comes in a moment when we try to forward and make sure that it goes to the right one. So let me give you all just a very quick, because you saw the picture of the T-shirt in the opening slide, but I want to show you because I've branded one that looks a little more Firestarter-esque. So I'm going to just pull my camera off.
Nice.
So see, we got that flame that's in there, which also goes, which I don't know if you'll be able to see, but which also goes to this flame tattoo that's like right there on my arm.
Wow. Jason, do you have merchandise on your website?
I do.
Okay.
I do. And in fact, I just sent out T-shirts today that went as far west as Washington, as far east as New York, and as far south as Texas. So I like to say the fire is spreading in a good way. So, all right, so let's get into it. Who remembers January 1st, 2020, right? New year, new me. New decade, new me. Woot, woot, right? Like, this is the year. Like, you know, you had the new journal, you had new pens, maybe you bought a new pair of running shoes, maybe you finally signed up for that course you were going to take, right? All of those things. And then... and then March 13th, Friday the 13th hit, and the whole world closed down. And so it changed really fast. It changed like overnight fast for many of us. And so one of the things that I like to tell people is, and I hear people saying this, and it makes me a little angry because I refuse to call this time that we are in right now new normal. This is not normal. My kids not being able to go to school, not normal. People around the country who aren't able to go into their workplaces, not normal. People freaked out about everything, not normal. Like all the stuff that's happened this summer, not normal. So how do I phrase that? Basically, I call this the new now. And here's a couple of things that I want you to know about the new now. It's not new normal. This is not new, or this is not normal, folks. It's not going to stay like this forever, but it is something that we are forced to deal with right now. And so one of the things that we know about the new now is that it changes very quickly. That's actually another bullet point that's here, my third one. Sometimes it changes several times a day. We got an email from my kid's school a couple of weeks ago that said, hey, your kids have a choice to go online or to go face-to-face. And so we had a conversation at home and we said, oh, okay, well, one kid wants to stay home and one kid wants to go face-to-face. So we made those decisions, had the tough family conversations. And then the school wrote within 24 hours and said, just kidding, your kid can't go to school full-time face-to-face. They have to be 2 days a week in a cohort. They're only going to see these. So I tell you all that to say it changes. Like we were heading down a road and then it changed. I have clients who are in the manufacturing space who are ready to go back to work. And then the CDC came out and said, just kidding, we're keeping things closed for longer. So the point is there's a lot of change. And the problem is, we in this country, I think, are used to having a little bit more time to deal with change than we do right now. And it's just like one wave of change after the next, after the next, after the next. And so one of the things that I put that second bullet point that's there is that this new now requires a marker of hope. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but I do want to show you all my marker of hope. If you can look over my shoulder right over here, I'm going to lift my camera up. See those Chuck Taylors that are sitting over there that are orange? They look really cool, kind of tie-dyed. Those are called, I think they were called like Summer Swizzle or something like that. Well, I bought those shoes. Whenever I speak in public, I typically wear Chuck Taylors. And I heard a podcast about a marker of hope. And this guy basically said, you need something that you can look at all the time that will remind you of what life is going to be like when new normal, like when things get back to the way they are, when new now is done and we've moved on. And so for me, I still have the tag on those shoes, and it's really painful because I'm a shoe guy, and those things literally sit on my desk, so that I can look at them every day and see them, because it is a reminder for me that when I do go back on stage and when I am speaking in public again, those are going to be the shoes that I put on for the first time when I go back out into the world. So my question to you is, do you have some sort of marker of hope? The guy that I heard it from on a podcast lives in California, and he put Christmas lights up around his house in the summertime because it's not normal, right? He's like, it looks weird to have Christmas lights on in the summertime, but it reminds me every time that they come on at night that we're in a time that this is just, it's weird. And then sort of a little bit of humor, but this is a phrase that I've used in my life that I learned a long time ago. Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be broken. I jokingly tell people that's from the book of First Barnaby. So if you're looking for a reference for that, but here, if you are stuck complaining about how things used to be, you're gonna be complaining for a really long time, because things aren't going to be the way that they used to be for a while. So the question is, what do we do with our new now? Because let's remember what that first slide, the picture of the bonfire, right? We were like, woohoo, gather everybody around the bonfire. This is going to be awesome. Well, unfortunately, when Friday, March 13th hit, this is kind of what happened to our fires, right? Anyone? I'm seeing some nodding heads, right? And so that's hard. But here's what I know about being a fire starter. If your fire currently looks like this, and if you've ever gone camping before, if you've ever built a fire in your fire pit in the back or in your home in your fireplace, if you've ever built a fire or been around a fire when it looks like this, you also know that it doesn't take very much to get it to look like this again. And so that's what I'd like to help you with today. How do we infuse fresh air, fresh oxygen into the fire of your life today with some very practical things that we can do? And I want to talk specifically to business owners, but I think that what I'm about to talk about applies to all areas of our life. And so part of, I talked a little bit about this when I spoke at the Creative Works conference, but it was the idea of bringing order out of chaos. And so here's what I want you to think about. So when you're thinking about your new now and the fact that your fire isn't burning very bright, some questions that people, I know I did, I kind of looked around a couple of months ago. I'm like, how did we get here? Like, I'm so tired. And I'm an extreme extrovert. So this whole staying at home thing, like, it was cool for a minute because I was like, ooh, I can do some introspection. I can do some journaling. I can get in touch with my quiet inner self. Turns out my quiet inner self is pretty loud and doesn't like to sit still for very long. So it's like, what do we do next? And so I've got a couple of things that I've listed here for you that I want you to think about. 4 different possibilities. And the first one is the brutal facts. What are the brutal facts? What are the brutal facts of your business? What is going on right now? And this is a tough conversation. If you're an eternal optimist, these conversations are hard because you want to spin these brutal facts to be the most positive things that you can possibly have. But sometimes there's no spin. It is what it is, and it's brutal. People had their doors closed for several months. Lots of my favorite restaurants around Indianapolis are closed, probably never to open again. I've got a friend that I just talked to this morning. She's like, we're hopeful that we can make it through this, but it doesn't look like things for our industry are going to get going until the end of 2021. I hope we can make it. Okay. So what are those brutal facts? What are the root causes of those things? Because some of these things are in your control and some of them aren't, right? When the economy closed down, that's not your fault. But there are things that you can do as a result. And there are really, the way that I look at this, there are two choices. You can complain and point outward and say, well, if they would have, and how come this? And I mean, we can play the victim, and many of us are victims. Like, I lost a ton of money from March 13th on that Friday until March 20th, because lots of gigs got canceled, lots of conferences got canceled. And so I could have gotten bitter and said, like, well, this sucks and this isn't fair, and crawled back under the covers and turned on more Netflix and ordered more wine or whatever the drink of choice was and just stayed under the covers. But I'm not going to do that. And basically what I would recommend that you do is you come up with 3 different scenarios. What's the best case scenario for what you're doing? If things could go like up and to the right? If it's on the right trajectory, what is that best case scenario? What's a good scenario? And what's the worst case scenario? And what, like, really get your team together, get investors together, get your leadership together. For some of you as a family, you may need to get your families together, right? My wife, we made a decision last year for my wife to go back to grad school. She started this week. Why did we make that decision last year? Because we thought the kids were going to be gone. And this would be like, that'll be fine. Like, we'll have all this, like, it'll be quiet. Like, no. We've got one that's in school at home every day of the week and one that's here 3 of the 5 days a week. Guess what? Not the best case scenario that we had, right? And so what do we do around those different things? What's best, what's good, what's worse, and have very candid conversations about that. The root causes and the brutal effect and the brutal facts are going to inform that. And then lastly, and I think this is the most important, is an action plan. And I'm going to give you a formula for an action plan. You may be familiar with this, but it's the easiest action plan you can ever have. Here it goes. Who will do what by when? That's it. Who will do what by when? So we've got accountability. And then the other thing to add to that at the end is how are we going to communicate this? So are we going to check in once a week? Are we going to check in every day? Are we going to check in once a quarter? Are we going to measure it from financials? Are we going to measure, how are we going to measure it? Who will do what by when? The accountability, the communication, and then lastly is how are we going to measure those things? Okay. So how do we get here and what do we do next? There's your outline. So let's look at 2 very simple but profound questions that I think will help us as we start to go through that couple step process. And so one of them is, what if? Do you know how powerful that question can be if you really allow all of the different opportunities to come in to answer that question? What if? What if we did this instead of this? What if we did this instead of this? Rebecca was telling me some stories about some of you all who own family entertainment centers who were doing virtual tours, who were showing aerial views of things, who were selling gift certificates for when you open back up in the future. So what if, and let me just tell you that if you do decide to engage in this activity, you have to take off the hat of like critical thinking and thinking of excuses. Yes, and is the best response to this. What if we did this? What if we did that? Yes. And what if we did this? Or what if we did that? Yes. And what if we did this? I'll tell you what will kill this conversation every time. Yeah, but. That is a conversation killer. Yeah, but it just tanks the energy right away. So and some of us are yeah, but people. Yeah, but. So you want your yes and folks in the room, or your yes or folks in the room. The yes, but people can come back when we have a plan and we're trying to figure things out. You want people who are going to dig into what if. And then the other one is, what about this? What if we did this? And what about, hey, what about those people? What about that company down the street that needs help with this thing? What about this group of people that doesn't have anywhere to get together? And this could be changing that whole business model that you have. But it's incredibly powerful to ask these two questions, what if and what about? And so I told you when we first started that my company's mission statement is two hashtags, and here they are: ignite hope and torch fear. And I want to show you all an activity that I think I actually just did it before I sat down to share with you all today. I highly recommend this in your companies. I highly recommend this in your families with your kids, because let's face it, kids are dealing with the stress and pressure of all this COVID stuff in ways that we don't even know, especially when they're tucked up in their rooms on devices all day going to school, right? So let's talk about how we can practically ignite hope and torch fear. But first, I want to introduce you to a word. Part of my background is that I was an English teacher for several years overseas in Poland. Poland is where my wife is from. I lived over there with her for about 8 years. I became a college professor over there, taught English as a foreign language, have a master's degree in teaching English as a foreign language, have taught at the university level for several years. And when I wrote my first book, Igniting the Firestarter Within, I really was interested in finding a word that worked for head trash or automatic negative thoughts or imposter syndrome or things like that. And I could not find the right word. I couldn't find it. So I thought, Jason, you're a smart guy. You've been in education for a long time. You know words. I used to do a word of the day every day in my classes. I'm like, so how can I get around this thing that I can't find the right word? I'll just make one up. How about that? So I did. And here it is. The word is what if abouts. Just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? What if abouts. So that's how you spell it. I've broken it up for you there. The accent, the stress of the word is on the if, because that's really what if abouts. And they are those pesky fears that work hard to keep us stuck and afraid. Now, I have spoken all over the country. And whenever I talk about what if abouts, if I have an opportunity with folks, we will talk about what our what if abouts are. And I'll ask that question. And so what I'd like to do is just ask you, after I give a description, to take some time, and maybe if you're feeling like you want to do this, and this is one of the places we're going to draw some of those questions from, the what if abouts, if you would put those in the chat for us. So let me tell you first a couple of those, and then I'm also going to tell you a couple of mine. Actually, first, let me just tell you mine. So before I started my company, I was very nervous, afraid, unsure, full of doubt, whatever it is that you want to put in there, about what I had to say. So my two what if abouts that really, it was kind of like, if you can just picture, like, for those of you who used to have cassette tapes, like the cassette tape just kept rolling. And when it got to the end, like it just did the auto reverse and just went the other way. And then it just kept going. And then when it got done, it just reversed and went the other way, but constantly playing. And here were my two what if abouts. The first one, Jason, you don't have anything to say. You don't have anything of value, anything of worth. you have nothing that you have to say. You don't have anything to say. It doesn't matter. Your voice doesn't matter. It was some sort of version of that running through my head. And if I got to the point where I could stand up to those and I was like, no, that's not true, and I have things to say, and I would think of the things that I have to say, and I would argue with these stupid, pesky what if abouts, the second one would come with kind of the next punch. And it was, well, even if you did, you don't have anything. Nobody would want to listen. So you don't have anything to say. And even if you did, nobody would want to listen. And so I'm curious if any of you have suffered from that particular what if about, or let me just put some other ones out here that I've heard people say. And I got to tell you, these things, they blow me away with Brene Brown calls it the story we tell ourselves in our head, right? Those what if abouts that run on the loop. And these are some that I've heard. See if these sound familiar to you. You're too old. You're too young. You're too experienced. You're not experienced enough. You're too skinny. You're too fat. You're too tall. You're too short. You're too old. You haven't, you can't go back to school. You're not smart enough. Everybody else is smarter than you. You've already tried that before and failed. You've tried that several times and failed. What makes you so smart? What makes you think it's going to work this time? That's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. These are all ones that people have given me that I've collected over the years of speaking. So I'm curious if you could put your what if abouts, if you're willing to, and we're going to draw some names from that. If you would be willing to put your what if abouts in the chat. So we're going to take just a minute. And if you don't want to, that's fine. That's totally fine. But I want to give people an opportunity to do that. And I'm going to take that opportunity to take a drink.
All right, I'm checking here. We've got, am I expert enough?
Feel that?
Might not hit the nail on the head, but what if my son has social anxieties from this #NewNow? What if someone disagrees with my ideas and I have to change? What makes you think you can make it work when others have tried?
Yeah.
And now I would love it if you are listening to this webinar right now. I know that this is a difficult and a tough exercise, but please throw us a comment. Your comments in the chat are how we will be able to pull a winner later for the prizes that Jason will be giving away. So I'd like to just encourage you, throw us something. I know it's a challenging one.
And that's part of the discomfort that we talked about at the beginning,
right?
About getting comfortable, being uncomfortable. And that is, and for those of you who shared, somebody said, I'm not sure if I hit the nail on the head. Here's the thing with what if abouts. They're yours. There's no prescription. There's no perfect way to figure out if this is it or not. And I will also give you, it doesn't always work, but I find that it works very often with what if abouts. One of the best responses, and I'll give it to you in response to the ones that I shared with you. One of the best responses to what if abouts is so what? Jason, you don't have anything to say and nobody would want to listen anyway. So what? Like, I know who I am. I know what my worth is. I know what I'm able to do. So what? But here's what I find, and this is what I want to really encourage you to do when it comes to these what if abouts. If you take, and I'm not talking about, so oftentimes when we do planning, we're like, well, we're here. I'm trying to get like way down the line, right? Like I don't know how to get there. Listen, don't worry about down there. Don't even worry about like 5 steps down there. Worry about the next step. Do the next best thing. What's the next thing that you can do that's in your control? And then after that, do that again. And I'll give you a real quick example. When I was in the corporate world, I was challenged by that what if about thing. And I thought, you know what? I want to help inspire people. I can't remember the last time I've been inspired at work. I've got to think there's other people like that. So I went home after a leadership conference. I wrote an email to 6 people and I said, hey, I can't remember the last time I was inspired at work. And believe me, what if abouts are like, nobody cares, nobody cares, nobody cares, you're stupid, nobody's going to listen, blah, 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 right? So like I didn't like all these fears in my head about not doing it. So I wrote this email. I said, I just want to get together. Let's get together once a month. Let's watch a TED Talk and see what happens. That was a Friday. I would love to tell you that as soon as I wrote that email, I went click and hit send, but I didn't because I was a chicken and I was listening to the what if abouts and they were saying nobody's going to listen. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to send the stupid email. Well, it wouldn't leave me alone for the whole weekend. So on Sunday, finally, I walked into my office, sat down at the computer, and I'm like, pulled it out of the draft and hit send, turned it off, and walked away. Well, at that time, I could get email on my phone from work. And within 30 minutes, I had 4 of the 6 people respond with a variety of responses, but all of them basically, hell yes, this is something I want to do. And can I just tell you that was the first step was deciding to write the email. Okay. So I had decided. The second step was writing the email. The third step should have been just sending it, but it went in the draft folder for a while, finally sent it. Right. And then here's what's crazy. Over the next 9 months, that group within the corporation where I work grew from 6 people to 300 people in 9 months because they wanted to be inspired. I wanted to be inspired. I just did the next thing. That's all we need to do. So thank you for sharing those what if abouts. I also want to ask right now and just pause for a second. Could you also share with us maybe some what ifs or some what abouts in your business that could maybe change the landscape of what you do, challenging the norm? What if we did this? What about that? What if we thought about it this way? What if we looked at this? Are there any of those things that came to mind when we were talking about that just a little bit ago? And I want to give you an opportunity to put that in the chat as well.
Awesome. And while folks are throwing those in the chat, I'll read off some of these other ones to you, Jason, in case you missed them.
Yeah, I have. Thank you.
Let me go back a little bit. Where were we? All right. What makes you think you can make it work when others have tried? I'm not outgoing enough. What if I don't have enough money to get there? I'm the oldest on the team. What if it doesn't work and I spend all that time working on it? What if I lose more than I stand to gain? What if none of these pivots take off? I'm the oldest on my team, even older than the GM. I'm newest on the team. And then Tanya and Jenna Boyle started making out on the chat. And then I had to throw that out there.
Nice.
Love you, Jenna.
All right. So let me, I don't know if you can see, but like I get very emotional about this stuff. And it actually, like a couple of those actually brought tears to my eyes, and you can probably hear it in my voice. Can I just, let's think about it like this. If we looked at this as a scale, right? If you looked at this whole what if about process as a scale, here's what we do. We have these ideas and we have these thoughts, and we spend so much time giving energy and weight and time and space to the negative side of things. We give, like if this was a scale, our scale would, if this was the negative stuff and this was the positive stuff, this is what our scale would look like. Like you wouldn't even be able to see the negatives because they're so far down and so full, right? So if we could bring that, if we could just give equal time, if you could just give equal time, because some of you are like, what if this doesn't work? What if it does? What if this pivot is the best thing that's ever happened? What if you, as the oldest member of your team, has more wisdom to share and things and lessons to learn than anybody could ever imagine? Flip that. What if it does? What if it does work out? What if it is a raging success? And this is I'm telling you, we have to train our brains to this because it's way easier to go to the negative side. We turn into Eeyores real fast, don't we? Oh, well, it's not going to work. I suck. I'm done. Right? That's the easy thing. So I've designed an exercise that I want to share with you. And this is definitely one of the pluses of not being in a hotel. Because I get to do this because I'm in the privacy of my own home and I don't have a fire marshal standing over me. So I want to show you what I think is a really important thing to do. So there is a quote by a gentleman named Jack Canfield, and he says that everything we want, you could write this down. Jack Canfield says everything you want is on the other side of fear. How much is everything? It's all the things, right? All the things. So all of it is on the other side of fear. And so here's what I would recommend that you do. And I'm going to show you what I did. So you do what you see on the screen and you take a situation, new job, current economic situation, family situation, whatever the scenario is. And you write down here, of course, it's on orange paper. Why? Because, by the way, I have a hashtag that I use all the time, always be branding. So everything that I have is orange, including my tattoo and my AirPod case and my water bottle and my seashell that I found when I went to Florida. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but it reminds me every day, and my watch band. It reminds me every day of who I am. So my what if abouts, because this is, like I said, I lost a lot of money when things got canceled. Things are changing. And so I've pivoted. Anybody ever see that episode of Friends? I feel like that episode of Friends, that one part of Friends has been 2020, right? Pivot. Remember that when Ross like, pivot. It's like, and Chandler's like, shut up. Like, I feel like that is the best encapsulation of 2020. And especially at the end when that couch is in like two halves, it's like if 2020 was a piece of furniture, it would be that couch. Like, I'm not even kidding. So with our what if abouts, here's what you do. You write them all down. And I did. And I'm going to read them to you. I'm not going to try to keep them a secret. These are ones that I just wrote down sitting here thinking right before I went live with all of you. And these are real. These are not like, I'm not trying to make these up so you can think that, you know, I'm feeling bad for myself, but these are in my head. Am I still relevant? I've pivoted. One of the things I did, I've pivoted and I'm starting this program where I'm going to certify people in my content. What if that program flops? What if the economy doesn't recover? What if I don't speak in public again? Those are real fears that I have. So here's what you do. You write down all the what if abouts. And sometimes I would tell people, you know what, set a timer, 2 minutes, 1 minute, that when you get to the end and the timer goes off, you're done. And then you flip the piece of paper over, because on the other side, I've written some things as well. And this is life with no fear is on the other side. With those what if abouts were gone. And so one of the things that I wrote is I said, what if I have a wait list for this program? Not just like, not going, oh, nobody's going to sign up because I suck and I'm not, why would anybody want to do it? And I mean, do you see how quickly that just goes left and it's terrible? So what if I have a wait list? What if the economy comes back and people are so hungry to have people like me come in that I actually get to speak more than I did in 2020? And then what if the economy and what I'm doing, especially with my program, is stronger than I even thought it was going to be? All right. So here's everything you want's on the other side of fear. You write down the fears, and then literally you turn it over and write down what it looks like on the other side. Here's the part that I love about not being in a hotel, and the part that is right on brand, which, by the way, I have a thing of matches. See what that says? It says light a fire. I have a couple. Light a fire that they can't put out. Oh yeah, with the flame on the back. Why? Because always be branding. So here's what we're going to do. And this is incredibly important because I don't want you getting upset or, sending the fire marshal to me. So proper fire safety always. And let me show you my fire safety. My fire safety is this. It's a bowl of water. Okay. Because here's what you're going to do. you're literally going to set this list on fire. Okay, so here's what you do. Take the match. Hopefully you don't set your keyboard on fire. I don't recommend doing this over a family pet. That would be a bad idea. And then literally, this is where Ignite Hope and Torch Fear come from, because we are literally, throw the match in the water, we are literally igniting hope. We are igniting the hope of what's on the other side, and we are torching the fear, those stupid what if abouts that tell us we're too old, too fat, too inexperienced, too experienced, and it's starting to get really hot, so I'm going to drop it. Okay? Literally igniting hope and torching fear. I highly recommend doing that with your family. That could be a great beginning to a bonfire outside, making some s'mores, grilling some hot dogs, whatever it is that you want to do. But that is a way for you to absolutely practically ignite hope and torch fear. So, we've talked, let's do a quick recap. All right. We have talked about practical plans for doing an assessment of what's happening currently. We've talked about asking ourselves what if and what about to think differently. We've looked at our what if abouts. The response to our what if abouts is so what? And also torching them. Because the other thing that I can tell you about what if abouts is that they're very similar to paper dragons. They look scary, but really if you light them on fire, they go away. And they're not very, they're tenacious. They're on repeat a lot, but when you stand up to them, they're not very creative. So when you finally stand up to that what if about that's been plaguing you since you were a little kid, and you finally like stand up and go, nuh-uh, it's like standing up to the bully. The bully doesn't really know what to do. It's not used to getting that response. So the next most important piece about having a solid controlled burn for you, for your customer, and just for your folks is to make sure that you have a good tribe in place. I talk a lot about tribe. If you want a great book about tribes, Seth Godin wrote a book called Tribes, and he talks just about how people organize and how we're looking for people to be with us. Another great TED Talk, if you haven't seen it, is How to Start a Movement. If you go to YouTube and put in TED Talk, How to Start a Movement, it's like a 4-minute, some of you may have seen it, was big on Facebook a couple years ago. It's like this crazy dancing guy on a hill. And they talk about lone and nuts, which that guy was, and also then first followers, the people that follow them to make the movement a movement. Well, Jim Rohn says that we are the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. Think about that for a minute. Think about people that you spend time with. Would you believe that that's true? Maybe it's not 5 for you. Maybe it's 3. Maybe it's 10. But we are the average of people that we spend the most time with. Jim Rohn took this so far as to say personal wealth, level of education, level of involvement in your community, the way you raise your children, whether you're married or divorced, the amount of money that you give to charity. All of those things are influenced by the people that you spend time with. And so if we can just agree, maybe it's a different number for you, but if we can agree that it is, in fact, that it has an effect on us, when was the last time that you ever did anything with the people that surround you? Have you ever taken a look and gone, maybe that's not the best person for me to be hanging out with? Or I'm here, I want to go here, so I need to find people who've been here and also here who can help me get to that place. So many of us are kind of in this pool. It's like, I talk to a lot of people about their tribes, and I'm like, when's the last time you did a tribal inventory? They're like, I've never done one. And I'm like, what's your tribe like? They're like, I don't know. I just kind of look around. These people have sort of followed me around since birth. Like, it just is who it is. Like, some of them are my family. Some of them are like high school friends. Some of them are neighbor kids. Like, I don't know. So I developed this tool when I was writing my book called a tribal inventory, which you see on the slide. And it's 3 stages. And I want to just very briefly give you an overview of those stages. And I want to give you a challenge with these. So I want you to write this challenge down as we get to it. So the first is the admire stage. And so basically what you do And we'll just go ahead and just pop all these on here so you can see them. So you can get this at my website when you go, and that will also sign you up to my mailing list. I send out 3 emails a week if you're interested in that. And I think we're also going to send as a follow-up, Rebecca, we talked about sending out to everybody a copy of this that you can have as well. So you're not paying for it. It's not something that you need to even subscribe to, but if you'd like to, there's my website. You can do that. So basically 3 stages. The first stage is admire. So basically what you do is you look at your tribe, and I've developed this tribal inventory. It has 7 different roles, because there are sometimes like we would have those 5 people in our lives, but maybe those people play different roles within the tribe. So basically what you do is you look at all of the different descriptions of the roles, and you look and you say, who's in my tribe? So some potential roles that could be in your tribe that I've named are, one is a dreamer. I like that one because that's who I am. I'm a dreamer. You may say I'm a dreamer. And I'm not the only one, but I also get paired often with people who are devil's advocates, who are the opposite of dreamers. And some of you may be listening right now and go, yep, I'm a dreamer married to a devil's advocate, or I'm a devil's advocate married to a dreamer. I know exactly what you're talking about. And what happens a lot is this, right? Because dreamers are the yes and the devil's advocates are the no but, right? That's what happens. And we see this sometimes on teams, right? The person who's always like throwing the wet blanket on the energy at the brainstorming session. So listen, we need dreamers and we need devil's advocates, and we need to admire those folks and let them know that they are important in our tribe. We need both voices, but the important thing is, when are those voices being used? And so you go through your tribe and you basically look and you say, who do I have in my tribe? And so here's the challenge that I want you to think about. I think almost all of us, most of us, have somebody that I call your midnight tribe. And midnight tribe is this: if the walls are burning down and life is falling down around you, who do you pick up the phone and call? Who is that person? Maybe your spouse, maybe your best friend, it may be a parent, maybe a sibling, maybe a neighbor. Most of us have at least one person in our lives that they're our person, right? And I call that your midnight tribe, because if it's at midnight, there's some people you're like, I'm not calling them at midnight, but this person I would call. Here's my challenge to you. Whoever it is that just came into your mind today, before your head hits the pillow, even better, before the afternoon is out, call, text, email, if you can, stop by, do something to let them know that you admire them and you are thankful for their voice and their presence in your life and in your tribe. Now, with a word of caution, don't just call them up out of the blue and be like, I love you, bro. I just want to let you know I love you, man. Yeah, I love you. Because they're going to think that you have gone COVID crazy and you've lost your ever-loving mind. So you need to let them know, like, hey, I was on this webinar today and I was challenged by this Firestarter Jason guy to call somebody and tell them that I appreciate them and you're my person. Now, here's the thing. You may think, and maybe you've already thought this, well, they already know that. Okay, let's say for the sake of argument they do. Okay. Wouldn't it still be nice for them to hear it? I think you'd probably like to hear it if somebody did it for you. So even if you think they know, call them up. Okay. Stage 2 is the hire. What you're going to realize when you go through your tribal inventory is you've got some gaps. One of my clients, once we went through the tribal inventory, I said, how was it? She said, it was terrible. What I realized, I have 5 devil's advocates in my tribe and no dreamers. All I got is a bunch of people telling me how bad my ideas are. I'm like, sister, we need to find you some dreamers. And that's what we did, right? Some of you will find that you've got 2 or 3 people filling every role in your tribe. There's no diversity there. There's no difference of opinion. That's not good. One of my clients, and this really surprised me because I didn't think about this, she went through it and she said, you know what? It was very sobering for me because what I realized is that I don't have a tribe. I am all of these different roles to everybody else. So it's a great way for you to figure out who you have in your life, what the effect is that they have, what they're doing. And I tell people, if you admire well and you hire well, firing is easy, because firing doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that you pick up your phone, which, by the way, flame pop socket in an orange case, because always be branding. It doesn't mean that you pick up your phone and you're like, you're dead to me. That's not what I'm saying. Or like, effective immediately, your number is out of my phone. No, that's not what I'm saying. What you may need to do is you may need to move those people from one particular role into another role. Maybe they think they do this role and they'd be better in another role. My wife and I'm a dreamer. My wife is a devil's advocate. She doesn't come to me when she wants help figuring out between two choices, because I'm wanting to think about 6 other choices. I'm like, but what about the 6 choices you haven't thought of? She's like, I don't care about those. I want these 2 choices. Well, you need a devil's advocate because those people are good. She's not the person I go to when I want to dream about things, because she's picking all the reasons about why things won't work. I'm like, no, I don't need that. Right? So picking the right people to be at the right place to do what needs to be done. It's an incredibly effective tool for you to use with your teams to find out who's in what seat. And it's also a great activity for you to, if you're able to be with your teams, is to ask everybody to self-identify. Who do you choose? What role would you choose in the tribe? And then you also put a name on everybody else on the group. Hey, I see Susan as a devil's advocate. I see Joe as a dreamer. I see Lakeisha as an expert. Right. So and it's amazing what happens when you hear other people speak back to you who they think you are. Woo, it's powerful stuff. So I highly recommend you get the tribal inventory. A couple of things I want to leave you with as we wind down. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no playbook to this insanity that we are living in on a daily basis. So if you think that there is one out there and you just haven't found it yet, it doesn't exist. So can you just take a deep breath and be like, okay, nobody else has it figured out. If you don't remember anything from today, please remember this one, that there's no playbook. Nobody has this figured out. I'm on so many HR forums. People are like, anybody got a playbook for this? Anybody got a playbook for that? And people are like, no, because we're still figuring it out. It's new now. And it's changing every freaking day. 2 other things that are very important. Grace and space. In order for your fire to really, really burn brightly, you need to give yourself grace and space. And here's what I mean by that. Grace is defined as courteous goodwill. Courteous goodwill towards yourself and others. Now, here's the thing. You can't give away something that you don't have yourself, right? So give courteous goodwill to yourself. Give grace to yourself. Parents and people who are working and business, all of us, we are dealing with things that we've never dealt with before. Grace, courteous goodwill to yourself and to other people. And then the other one is space, and I love this definition. It says a continuous area of expanse which is free, available, or unoccupied. I've talked to so many people who are like, I miss my daily commute. Well, how about you go walk around the block at the end of your workday? Just like you would for your commute. Put your headphones in. What if you drove to a park and took a half-hour walk? What if you just went out in the back and said, everybody, I'm commuting in silence in the backyard for the next half hour. Don't come bug me. Space. Because the goal, this is our goal. Our goal is this fire that's burning in us that we all had on January 1st of 2020. And do you know that I am hearing more and more and seeing more and more posts of people who've just basically said, you know what? It's August 27th. I'm pretty much wrapping it up for 2020. I'm gonna start working on my New Year's resolutions for 2021 and just gonna ride this thing out. Oh, that makes me so sad. This is the goal. Okay? This is the goal, because when the fire is burning hot, this is then what happens. Absolutely. There is a heart on fire for you, for your business, and for your customer. So I want to leave you with a couple of key takeaways here as we break it out. These are all things we've talked about. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about those. I do want to say something about this last point. I was challenged in 2019 when I was struggling in my business. Things weren't going the way that I wanted. And what I realized is I was working from I was not working in abundance. I was working in a scarcity mentality, and my hands basically were like this. And I had a friend who came along and he said, Jason, here's the deal. I can see this. He's like, you're desperate right now. Like your hands are clenched. You're white knuckled. And he said, you can neither give nor receive blessings that other people want to give you, things that other people want to give you, help and assistance, mentorship. You can't give or receive any of those things when your hands are tightly closed. You've got to open it up. And I find that the more our hearts are on fire, the more we are able to open it up. Because this is what we want. We want the party of sparks. That's what we want. That's what the goal is. So please, if you were thinking about packing it up for 2020, please don't. The world needs your gifts and your talents. It's waiting for it. And you're robbing the world if you've packed it up, or if you've said, you know what, I'm just going to let the fire die out a little bit. I'm not going to put any fuel on it. And then lastly, I just want to mention a couple of things to you. I wasn't going to do one of these this year, so I've only really decided to do one. I'm doing a 30 Days to Blaze. It's my course that I'm giving away today, but I'm doing one where I'm facilitating it. We'll do it through a virtual platform. But this is basically what is available there. It's going to start October the 20th on Sunday night. We meet for an hour and 15 minutes, same time, same day for 6 weeks. Y'all, I have had people who've gone back to school, who've finished doctorate degrees, who have started side hustles, somebody who started a podcast, people who have changed jobs. A lady who recently went through this decided that she loves to cater, so she is catering now for her team at work, and they're paying her as a result of going through this program. I can honestly tell you that it has the power to change your life because I've seen it, which is pretty amazing. The other thing is, if you would like to fan the flame for others, for the first time ever, I am going to certify people in my content this year in October. It will be a small group, 10 to 15 people. We are going to go very deep over the next year. This is my opportunity to pour into folks. So I'm going to have a group of facilitators that I'm pouring into that can then, if you want to start a side hustle and go teach 30 Days to Blaze, fantastic. If you want to take this into your company and you want to be the person who's taking it in there and spreading the fire, fantastic. If you're interested in that, my email is there, jason@firestarterstribe.com. I would love to talk to you about what that's going to be, because it's going to be, I know it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be more amazing than I even think it's going to be right now. So if you're interested or know somebody who's interested, I would love to get in touch. And we've got just a couple minutes for questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. That was fantastic. I would love to know what questions you have for Jason, and also what was your biggest takeaway from this session?
Love that.
Throw it in the chat. And of course, if you have comments in the chat, qualifies you towards his free course and the book prize. So if nothing else, if you like to win prizes, you could do that. But we really just want to know what your takeaways are.
Right.
Or questions. And actually, while we're waiting for those, Jason, could you click forward one slide for me?
Absolutely.
Jason mentioned that there's no playbook for what's going on in the world right now. And while I agree, because it is ever moving, that's something that we recognized here at Party Center Software, that for our folks in this industry, you guys are going through some really specific issues and problems that you've never seen before. And we wanted to try to help towards that and try to give a little piece of a playbook for it. So you'll see over there on the right-hand side, there is a resource called Hammer Away, 3 tools for constructing a business pivot plan. It's all about giving you ideas to pivot your FEC business during this time. So you may not be able to operate at, your full numbers. You may have to operate a little bit differently, social distance, masks, whatever the case might be. We've got some ideas on how you can pivot your business to still produce revenue. So check out our website. It's on our website under resources. There's also this resource on here in case of emergency, an emergency preparedness guide. This is not a COVID guide. This is a all in general, any type of situation, your internet goes out, you have a loss, whatever it might be, there are some ideas in here to help you to move beyond so that you don't get crippled by fear and stuck in the moment, and you can say, hey, I've got an alternate plan and I'm going to take that path.
Awesome.
So just want to throw that out there. All right, we've got some stuff in the chat here, Jason. A lot of thank yous. Nice. You can't fan a fire with a closed fist. Thank you, Jason. Thank you for all your positive vibes. We can't be all people in the tribe. Surround yourself with people who get it.
Amen to that.
Biggest takeaway, what if about? May need to hire dreamers for your tribe. I think Jason nailed it on the head with people who are done with 2020. We have 4 more months to be awesome.
Yes.
Scott says, great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. It's you know, when you get to do what you were made to do, this isn't optimal. I would love to rather be in a room with you all and like be able to sip some coffee after this is over and talk about it. But getting to do what you're made to do is the thing that lights my soul on fire. And so I am very thankful for all the folks at Party Center Software for inviting me today and helping me put together the deck and dealing with all of the, it's so nice to come in and somebody else takes care of all the tech pieces for you and that's not on your head. So thank you for that. That's, you guys just, it was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you so much for presenting. This was fantastic. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for everybody for joining us today. We're so glad that you were able to join us. We do webinars every single month. So please join us for the next one. You'll see an email out in the next couple of weeks letting you know what the topic will be. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your day. And we'll see you guys soon.
Awesome.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.